very much. I think the most bird I've seen in Kenya is chicken, actually. Well, what a fantastic audience here. And what an honor for me to be in front of you today. I come from Kenya. That's where I was born 49 years ago, to a mother who had 9 children. So I was number 8 in the family. And I think when I talk to her, she tells me she got me when she was about, I was her 8th born, and I think she got me when she was about 32. So you can imagine how many children she had before she had me. She had 7. So I think she probably started having, her first birth under 20. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about prosperity. Let's talk about livelihood. Let's talk about people's future. And let's talk about hope and dreams of the different children who are like me, who are being born today in countries in Africa. Today, I'll just pick one country, and then I'll compare with Netherlands. So 465 children will be born in Netherlands today, based on what we call the crude birth rate. 465 will be born today in a population of 17 million people. At the same time, the same day today, 5,000 children will be born in Uganda today. 5,000 children in a population of about 42 million people. So you can tell, obviously, that the crude birth rate of Uganda is many times more than that of Netherlands, which is, part of the construct of what we are going to talk about today. But behind me is a young girl who can be our poster girl for the girl we are going to talk about. So let's pick, because these statistics, numbers tell us things, but every number reflects a human life behind it. So when you say 465, it could look like 465, crude birth rate, 10 people out of every 1,000 people, but that doesn't mean anything, because behind those numbers is someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's child, someone's friend. So let's pick out of the 465 that are going to be born today in Netherlands. So give me one name of a girl that's very popular in Netherlands that we can use for this girl. Sorry? Sophie. Lovely. Sophie. So Sophie has been born today. At the same time, a girl has been born in Uganda. So because you don't know the names in Uganda, I'll give you one. So she's called Winnie Nantukunda. So let's use Nantukunda, because you know what? Nantukunda actually means I love you. And she actually loves you. Okay? She's been born today, and she has hopes and dreams. And her hopes and dreams are not any different from Sophie's hopes and dreams. Because you know what? Over 90% of people in the world are born normal, completely normal, and they all therefore have exactly the same hopes and dreams for their lives. Exactly the same, irrespective of where they were born. So Nantukunda, whose name means I love you, and Sophie have been born today. But let's fast forward 18 years from now. 18 years from now, what is going to be the potential of Nantukunda to achieve the dreams and hopes that she had when she was born? And what is going to be the potential of Sophie to achieve the same dreams and hopes for when they were born? The reality is, through the assessment of the World Bank, through something we call the Human Capital Index, which is a more recent philosophy of trying to pitch countries against each other, because you know what? How much money you have or where your geography doesn't really matter. What matters is human lives and what their experiences are. If you look at these two girls, Nantukunda, and you look at Sophie, Sophie's potential to achieve her dreams and hopes at 18 years from now, if you fast track, if you leave your inbox as you are told now and you go ahead with me on the journey 18 years from now, will be 80%, meaning she'll have lost about 20% of her potential to achieve her dreams and hopes. And that is through her experiences in education. This is an average number. Her health experiences. She'll have lost about 20%. So she'll have 80% to achieve her dreams and hopes. Now let's look at Nantukunda 18 years from now. On average, Nantukunda will have 38% potential remaining to achieve her hopes and dreams. Less than half Sophie's today. So what really, if you were to ask yourself, eats away at Nantukunda's 62% of her potential, so that by the time they are 18, both Sophie and Nantukunda will have totally different outlooks at life. Based on this philosophy, it is the experiences through health and education. Because the number 100 represents potentially full access to education and full access to health services. Those two combined give you what the index of the human capital is. And the reason for that, and the reason they're intertwined, is because healthy people earn and healthy children learn. So the two of them are really intertwined. And if you look at Nantukunda, through her life in Uganda, she will probably be born to a mother who was too busy working to feed her, or too busy fetching water because there's no access to water in her village, and therefore spending 4 hours a day looking for water, that she probably didn't have enough time to breastfeed Nantukunda. Or that Nantukunda, as she grew, she did not have enough food to nourish herself and nourish her brain. Or that after she was born, the chance that she wouldn't live to see her 5th birthday is 5% chance that she will not live to see her 5th birthday. You know what that percentage is for Sophie? 0. Statistics show that child mortality under 5 years in Netherlands is statistically 0, because almost all children will live to their 5th birthday. For Nantukunda, the chance that she won't get to her 5th birthday is 5%. So that's already a barrier to her life. If, and I believe she does, go to her 5th birthday and proceed beyond that, Nantukunda will find that frequent infection by malaria or diarrhea episodes or maybe pneumonia, because those are the biggest killers of children in these countries. Diarrhea, pneumonia are the biggest killers. She may find that in between these episodes, she may miss days of school. And therefore, when she is actually, by the time she gets into 18, a mix of illness, maybe inadequate education investment, may mean that she only has 7 years of schooling by the time she's 18. For Sophie, that number is 14 years on average. 14 years of education for Sophie by the time she's 18 compared to 7 years for Nantukunda. And actually, when you adjust that number for quality of education, Nantukunda's 7 years come down to 3.5, and Sophie's come down to 11.7. So very little adjustment. These experiences continue. And by the time they get to teenage, they might find that Nantukunda has other barriers. Like, for example, she may not have access to sanitary pads. And therefore, she may drop out of school every month when she has her periods. In fact, in Kenya, recently, we had a girl who committed suicide because she had her menses on the day she was in school. She stained her skirt. The teacher ridiculed her. She went home. Her mother consoled her. She went to fetch water, and she hung herself because of the shame of her life. And this happens regularly. So you might find that Nantukunda has to go through those challenges. And then after that, you may find that because of the other challenges moving forward, her possibility or probability of reaching 60 is much lower than the possibility of Sophie reaching 60. Because you know what? More than 40% of all death in Africa happens below 5 years. Whereas only 20% of deaths in Netherlands happen below 60 years. So these experiences then determine how children who are born today will be in their future. So what is the problem then, and what can we do as a planet? Because this is about Planet Act. Sophie and Nantukunda. Nantukunda doesn't need help. Nantukunda can help herself. What Nantukunda needs is for all of us to work together to remove barriers. Not to help her, not to give her food, not to give her a toilet. To work together to remove barriers that make sure that Nantukunda doesn't have access to these things. Those barriers could be social and cultural barriers. The fact that communities in some of these areas will ensure that girls have to go through female genital mutilation. And therefore, when they go through female genital mutilation, then they are married early, and they may therefore not go to school because they got married at 11 or 12. Or that there could be barriers that mean that the boys get taken to school for more years than girls, because girls, you know what, will marry them off and we'll get some cows. Or it could be policy, that actually many countries in the world have policies against women in the labor market. Or it could be policies and demand creation and empowerment of communities, that communities can actually be taught to own their needs, that they actually don't need to be helped. They need to be enabled to own their needs, so that we work together to remove barriers. And you know what? The only way you can actually work with communities to remove barriers is to give up your power. We tend to think that we can help communities with our power, and that power could be our money, could be our brands, could be our positions in society, could even be the clothes we wear that we have to drop so that we can get out there and give up our power. And that power, when we give it, the communities come to us and we're able to work with them, and together we work to remove barriers, not to help them, but to remove barriers so that they can help themselves. This is what I call upon you, ladies and gentlemen, today, and this is what we do every day. That's what my life is every day in Africa, to work with communities to remove barriers, not to give them a fish for the day, but to teach them how to fish so that they can own their own prosperity, so that Nantukunda, who is being born 18 years from now, 18 years then, their potential is going to be the same as the Sophie who will be born in Netherlands 18 years from now. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.